Okay. Let's talk about manufactured scarcity. This is something that is pretty adamant when it comes to physical media. There's a lot of physical media produced, but at the same time, not enough of it is produced for everyone. Everything in general, I should note to begin with, is usually produced in a limited quantity, whether emphasized, oh my god, there is only 3,000 or 6,000 units or 500 units of this, and we're going to make that obvious, and we're going to tell you up front, and that's going to really make you want to buy it immediately, so you don't miss out. You don't have that FOMO, or you get that FOMO, and then you buy it. Or there's just the standard amount of, hey, we're only producing like 10,000 or 15,000 units, but we're not going to, like a general number that's not overly emphasized in the marketing or anything like that. And that allows them to produce a good amount that they can at least make money off of. And if it happens to sell really well, they make more units. Something like you will see a pre-order for something that's just been announced on Amazon, for example, or whatever website, and then suddenly it vanishes after maybe a couple of days or a couple of weeks, and you're like, oh my god, it's temporarily unavailable, they don't have any in stock, it's all eBay's reselling them for skyrocketed prices, and then they just re-release them a couple months later, or just have more in stock a couple months later, because they're like, yeah, we only produced a certain amount of units, and they sold out really well, so then we, made more units, because that's usually how it works. That's kind of the best hope, is that that's how it works. Like, as long as a company will have a license for a film or a TV show, they will have the opportunity to keep making stock and products of it, assuming that they don't originally limit the amount of their releases. If you take anything from Imprint Via Vision, their releases are usually 1,500 units. They used to be 2,000, sometimes they're more. It can really depend, again, on the product. I'm trying to remember what it was. There was a box set that I had interest in buying. It was from Umbrella. It was their Terrifier box set, this one. And it said it was a limited number of units, and I was like, oh, I'm tempted to get it because it's the 3 Terrifier films plus the anthology, all on 4K, and booklet, all the goodies that make you really want to buy something, or make you really question why the fuck something is so expensive when it comes with pieces of paper that they call art cards. Because people love art cards and posters, don't they? You have enough room in your house to put little pieces of cardboard, don't you? Yeah, of course, everyone does. Anyway... But I watched a video unboxing it, and the person on the back of the card, it of course said one particular unit out of 20,000. And I'm like, that's a lot of units. Like, maybe it doesn't seem like a lot of units when you realize there are how many billion people on this planet, and how many of those billion will watch the Terrifier films, and how many of those billions will have the money to buy the Terrifier films, particularly on 4K. Are there 20,000 hardcore, diehard fans that will buy these films? Probably. Some of those will probably be people who will buy them just so they can resell them at a later date when it eventually sells out, because so many of those Umbrella releases that I see eventually sell out because they're only got a strict limited number of units, and hence go for crazy prices. Take Monkey Shines, for example, which came out in December of 2023. By the time I wanted to buy it, it was December of 2024, and this limited edition version had sold out. Now, in all fairness, I didn't buy it initially because I had a version from Eureka, and I didn't see the need to buy this version. But then the person who worked on 2 of the essays and an interview died. And he was a good friend of mine, and I wanted that version because it came with that stuff. And it was unavailable because they only produced like 400 units, and it had sold out, and it was selling for $300 to $500 on eBay. One person had 2 versions that were selling for about $300, and I'm like, I don't want to spend $300. And because I know the people who worked on it, I was actually able to get a PDF copy. But still, cut to a couple months later, I'm at a movie market, and Umbrella's there, and they happen to have a bunch of limited editions that were mega out of print, including 3 copies of Monkey Shines, of which I bought one for $75, which is the retail price. This is Australian dollars. Sometimes I have to emphasize that because I'm in Australia. Hello. Hence why I'm using Australian boutiques as my reference point. And so I bought it for $75 because I'm like, well, I kind of have to, because I need it, It completes my collection to that degree, again, because I've been collecting all the films that my friend had worked on. And I had this, eBay has this function where you have a, saved thing, so it'll tell you if, via email or notification, hey, someone's put this out on their market, take a look, and you might be exactly what you're looking for, whatever. And just so happened that a couple days later, someone put out the exact same version that I had bought. Clearly, they had bought it from the market as well and had driven back home to Sydney, and lo and behold, we're selling it for $500. Wow, I wonder if they're ever going to make bank out of that. Maybe, because eventually, when it comes to the eventual FOMO of even just regular and even non-regular versions of films, because both of them eventually go out of print anyway, whether it be your limited edition, emphasized certain distinct number of units, or your standard edition versions of some Blu-rays or DVDs will eventually lose licensing and will become, out of stock and completely unavailable, so you have to rely on either, movie markets or eBay or maybe Amazon if you're lucky, or just a $2 shop if you happen to live in a city that has a lot of those. I live in a city that has a lot of them, but not any good ones, and definitely not for Blu-ray releases, rarely any. It's mostly just DVDs that were hugely mass-produced that nobody wants anymore. Mostly because of streaming, but at the same time, it's one of those things where you gotta hope for the best when it comes to an out-of-print unit. And out-of-print stuff sucks, it sucks for everyone, especially when you eventually get around to having the money to buy a film, or you finally discover a film and you really like it, whether you've seen it at a theater screening or you've seen it, at a friend's place. Oh, my friend had this copy of this film, we watched it, I loved it so much I went to buy the Blu-ray and it cost $600. So maybe you just, I don't know, you give up. So this is a thing that a colleague of mine recently described as manufactured scarcity, where they specifically make a certain, number of units to emphasize that you buy it now for its full retail price so you don't miss out. And there have been occasions where I have done that, we're all guilty of it realistically, and sometimes you love the film and sometimes you don't love the film. I had bought the Umbrella's Super Mario set, that one, for its full retail price of $150. However, I had actually bought it at Supernova, which is just ridiculous. That's a pop culture convention, much like Comic-Con. They happened to have a booth one year, which was great. They should do that more often, but they're just not. And they had 3 units of it there. And I was like, that's great, because I had already ordered the redone version for the same price, which came with less stuff. And they were just like, yeah, no, just email us, we can cancel the order, and you get this one for the same price. And I did. That actually became really great in the end, because I put in a different order for other stuff, because I had ordered Mario with a different film. I had to cancel both and then reorder the other one, and then they're like, hey, because you love buying from us so much, here's like a 20% off coupon. So then I bought more. Stuff I was going to wait for standard editions and ended up buying limited editions like Tank Girl and The Raid, both of which are now also out of print and go for $300 to $500 on eBay. Fucking don't you love it? Criterion announces that something's going out of print, or my favorite is Scream Factory, because they actually really emphasize it. Them and like Powerhouse Indicator, sometimes Second Sight will emphasize, Radiance to it as well, if you're subscribed to their mailing lists, which is convenient sometimes. As someone who likes to be subscribed to some mailing lists, I can't be subscribed to all of them, because like Scream Factory and Criterion, I don't know why I'm subscribed to Criterion. I think it's just because I have a subscription for the channel, which is like, yeah, sure, I guess that helps. At least when they announce their new lineup of films each month, I can just look at the email they send me. Same with Arrow Video and Second Sight. But then you get, Scream Factory and whatever, who, because them and again Criterion are in the US, I don't subscribe to I don't subscribe to Second Sight's Scream Factories. No, what the fuck am I saying? I don't subscribe to Shout Factory. My God, they've all got the same fucking name. To Shout Factory / Scream Factory is one, because I can't buy directly from them. Same as Kino Lorber. I don't subscribe to that anymore. Most of it was just telling me when sales were happening. I'm like, I can't fucking buy this shit. I'm in a different country. I'm not in the US. I can't buy it. So anyway, it's nice to have at least some kind of an idea as to, hey, this is about to sell out. Here's your chance to buy it. Go ahead. be careful, I don't know. Maybe it's a limited edition and they're going to have a standard edition. Maybe they don't have standard editions. That's why there are different variations. You get your limited edition set, take, again, anything I mentioned from Umbrella, I'll have an image there, and that's something that they'll also produce at the same time, or sometimes you might get a brand that will only produce the limited edition, and then when it sells out, they do a standard one. I know that Imprint do a limited edition, which is again 1,500 to 2,000 units of a slipcover version of a film, and then if it sells out quickly enough, like usually within the time they still have a license for it, they can reprint it, but as a standard edition, which doesn't come with the slipcover, which is usually the slipcover's artwork, and the artwork that was on the case on the inside, you don't get anymore. You instead just get that as a standard release for the slipcover artwork, which is interesting. It gives you some, alternating thing. It means it's cheaper by usually $10, so you don't get the extra slipcover and you don't really need it because sometimes you don't really get much out of it. But if they don't reproduce the film, then that's it. You only get the limited edition version, and that's it. That's the scarcity. That's where it kicks in. Some other brands do some things differently. Scream Factory, again, will have their limited edition versions directly from the website where you can get like posters and a steelbook and a whole bundle. Some of them are bundle ones exclusive to the web store. Umbrella do that a lot as well. But then there are some that it will stay as, hey, we're only doing this one print of this limited edition and we're going to tell you that up front because we're not going to reprint it. And I've gotten some films from some UK sources, even, I know that Imprint had that for Neverending Story. They really emphasized this whole big set, which costs like $200 odd for one movie, is like, plus a documentary and like 2 different cuts of the film, all in 4K. It's a whole big thing, but they're not going to do a standard release. At least they've mentioned that it's running out, and once it's gone, it's gone. They could be just really good liars, because can you really trust them? Are you legally allowed to sue them for saying that as a false marketing? Who knows? It's just marketing. If it convinces you to buy it, it convinces you to buy it, and that's kind of what you got to run with. So obviously there's enough stress when it comes to this as a buyer. We're all pretty accustomed to this. Some people aren't, and it's, you want people to be buying more physical media because it incentivizes the studios, the companies that make the physical media, to keep producing it because they know that people want it. And that's great. It's expensive because fuck, this stuff is expensive. It's not even the fact that it's scarce. It is just in general expensive. Standard Blu-rays, at least in Australia, have gone from $20 to $35. The 4Ks have gone from $40 to $50 to maybe even $60, and they don't even have a Blu-ray disc anymore. It depends on the country you're in, the region, and who's distributing them. The company who does it in Australia basically only do a 1-disc release now for each, unless you get the Steelbook. And the Steelbook is like $3 more, or at least it used to be, because, Nosferatu recently came out, and the 4K is $40 on 4K. And the Steelbook, which is the Blu-ray and the 4K, was $60. Fuck off. I'm not buying that. It also sold out, which is insane. Like, this is only going to incentivize more of this kind of stuff. That's a whole another part of the bracket of, if you buy this stuff at its most expensive retail price because of the FOMO, or because, I don't know, some people really like steelbooks or something, to each their own. I used to, I don't anymore, but I sometimes still buy them just in case. I fucking bought the Terminator steelbook because it's the only one you can get in the Australian market. And that was a reprint. It had a bunch come out late last year, late 2024, and just was reprinted in like early 2025. And I just found one in store. I'm like, yeah, fuck it, $55. I could have spent $30 on Amazon for it, like a couple weeks earlier. Maybe, depends on if I got it from the UK or the US. Again, just the 4K disc, I'm pretty sure. But then when I double checked on Amazon, it was up to $60 again. So I'm like, actually, I think 70. Again, that's a marketplace value. It goes up and down all the time. So I'm happy with my Steelbook version. That's great. Whatever. Who cares? I got the Blu-ray, I got the 4K, I got everything I need to do with it. That's great. I don't need to buy it again. Yay. I still have a fucking Steelbook, but at least I have the film, and that's what I want. But again, Nosferatu's selling out was insane. And this is just the Australian market version. I don't know what it was like overseas, but in Australia, at JB, unless you happen to find one in store, it's gone. I didn't even see it in opening week. I got there like the Wednesday that things were released, because in Australia at JB, things actually come out on the Monday, but online they're released on the Wednesday, so if you happen to go in stores on the Monday, you're usually able to get it straight off the shelf. But yeah, it had gone by within 3 days. Probably less than that. Probably by the Tuesday it had vanished. So, yeah. But those are different things. Like, again, a steelbook is designed as limited edition. No particular batch numbers unless it's a particular brand like Synapse or whomever happen to do a steelbook release, or Scream Factory. Sometimes they'll just tell you it's one of 2,000 units and you just gotta kind of bite the bullet and hope for the best. Assuming it doesn't come in damaged, or whoever you get it from. There's enough issues from buying it to receiving it. We all know that. And that can make it more stressful as well, because you finally get it and maybe the disc doesn't work and then you have to buy another version, but they don't have any other versions because it was only a steelbook release. What do you do then? What if my Terminator fucking 4K doesn't work when I go to watch it? What do? I'm fucked, you know? Go back to the store and be like, hey, my 4K disc is faulty, can I get a replacement? They'll be like, sorry, we don't have anything in stock anywhere. We can give you a partial refund. Maybe that's the best I can get for it, but it's like, what the fuck's the point of buying it if that's what I bought it for? I don't care about the steelbook, I don't care about the artwork, whether it's nice or not. But that's the thing, even just standard editions of films even go down that, barrel in the end anyway. Like, you might get a film that isn't uber popular, so it'll get maybe a print of 6,000 to 10,000 units, and that'll be it. They'll print it one time, it'll sell so slowly, or maybe sell quick enough, but not enough time for them to reprint it because they still have the license. And it just goes. It's just gone from shelves for good. You got to rely on secondhand copies, and that's just how it goes. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time. Isn't life great? Like, everything that we want is, like, expensive and also only has a limited amount of units. Yeah. That's concerning. Anyway, sure, it doesn't mean anything. Totally.